Hello YouTubers, this is Brent, and what you're looking at is a piece of green Helenite volcanic glass gem material. This was sent to me by my friend John quite a while ago, and I've cut one piece or maybe two out of what he sent me, and this will be the next piece. You can see some little bubbles in there, gas bubbles, when you look closely, but there's no other inclusions otherwise. But this makes a pretty good gem material. So I'm going to cut it in a round shape. And I'm going to cut this new design to me called Trifectancy. Andrew Brown, a Australian faster, designed this, and he's got a whole booklet on several books on faceting designs. So we'll see what happens here, and I'll get it dopped up and get started. I'm going to grind a flat spot on it so I can get it on, onto the dop stick, so I have a flat spot on the stone to work on that. So this is the dop stick I'll use. It's a 5mm stick. Actually, I may go on up higher on this. Yeah, this is about 10 or 12 millimeters in diameter, so I'll probably use a larger dop stick. Okay, that should do. That's a 360 grit lap I just used. Alright, I've got the stone dopped up, and we'll get started here. With the first set of facets cut with the 600 lap, I put on the 3000 lightning lap, and I've already pre-polished one facet, the first facet here. And I'm going to final polish this facet before I move on to any more cutting. I'm going to do it that way, where I'll cut a row of facets, I will pre-polish and then final polish before moving on to the rest of those facets. I'm going to try that strategy, which I use sometimes. That eliminates having to change your machine, your angle setting. You just leave that. You might have to adjust your height setting for the different lap thicknesses, but you don't have to keep changing your angle setting. You just leave that alone and proceed through those 3 laps. I'm using a darkside lap to do the polishing, and cerium oxide is the polishing agent. I use a spray bottle about every 30 seconds or so. And I use the bat stick cerium oxide. About every 2 minutes I do this. Here I have the polishing all done on this first set of facets. And the next set will be the girdle facets. I think I can get away with using a 1200 lap to cut the girdle facets. Using the same procedure I did when I cut the first set of facets, so I'll go ahead and get started with pre-polishing these girdle facets. Okay, I'm cutting the next set of facets. You can see I brought this facet all the way down to here. That facet is to touch the girdle, but I'm going to leave it short because the first set of facets are already polished, so I've got to be very careful and leave room for my pre-polishing and my polishing, because that's going to remove that will remove part of that facet, the material. So I want to make sure I don't overshoot. So I'm going to go further, but I'm going to leave enough room for pre-polished lap and polishing. I've finished polishing the P2 facets. So all is left is one more set of 4 facets, and that's the Pavilion 3 facets. That'll wind up the pavilion. Okay, there is only 3 final facets to cut. I spoke out of turn there. Anyway, you can see I've cut the facet and left it very short because these facets cut very quickly. You get into trouble. So I cut with a 1200 lap, but I probably could have used a 3000. So I'm going to leave them well short of their meats and get back with the 3000 lap on the machine and do these last three. Okay, this is the last facet on the pavilion. Once again, I'm using the darkside lap for polishing in cerium oxide. Okay, I'm now ready to transfer the gem from this dot to this dot. This has a cone cavity in it so it can accept the sharp pavilion and culet tip. And I will put glue on this connection here and let it sit overnight. Epoxy glue, a two-part epoxy. And once again, there's a cavity in the dop stick, just like this one here, and that receives the stone. It's kind of hard to see unless I tip it up. All right, I'll mix the glue up and I'll make the transfer. And there's a lock mechanism here. This is a really nice transfer jig. I got this from Polymetric Company. And it'll accept large gems. This opens way up. It's much bigger than the small one I got from with the Ultratech. This would not accept this long dop I'm using today. I'm using a really long dop stick today. And it just wouldn't fit into the Ultratech. It's too small. I couldn't get them both in, so I had to go to this larger. This is an 8-inch. These are a little more than $200, so they're not cheap. That's for sure. But it'll last me the rest of my life. That's for sure too. Okay, we have the transfer complete and the epoxy glue is setting up. And I let that set up for 24 hours usually before I start to remove the first dop and start cutting. All right, on to the next set. Now it's kind of a step cut facet is what these last ones will be. I've reached my meet points. You can see I've cut that facet all the way down to there. And that's where I'm stopping. And I'll cut the next 7 facets. This row of facets is finished. So I'll go back to the beginning of this set of facets and I will use a 3000 lap and start pre-polishing and move through the whole set of three tiers or rows, whichever you prefer to call them. And I'll pre-polish and then I'll polish, and after that will be 1 facet left, and that's the table facet. Three passes is all I need to do to pre-polish these facets. 3 swipes across the lap. The pre-polishing is completed and I'm going to start polishing with a darkside lap and cerium oxide polish. This is final polishing with the darkside lap. Okay, I've got the stone all completely polished, and the last step is cutting the table facet and polishing it. So I'll change laps and set up the machine with the 45-degree table adapter and get started cutting the table. This is cutting the table facet. And we don't have any real meat points to make on this with cutting this design, so this is going to be easy. I don't have a star facet that I have to cut to the meat point. It's going to be so much easier than most of the designs where you have star facets that you have to cut the table to. I'll show you what I mean here. I'm kind of free to make that table any size I want. And when you look at the design here, you can see your hard part is over after you've made these meat points. So now you're cutting the table and you can make these facets whatever size you want. So I could just stop right now if I wanted to. But I'm going to try to make these facets on my stone the same as this design here, about the same width there. Okay, I'm polishing with the darkside lap and just about finished with it. Here's the finished gemstone. Alright, I'll take it off the dopstick and we'll look at it even closer. First off, I'll weigh the stone. 9.5 carats. Here we are.